there. Thank you for joining me for That's the Way It Is. I'm your host, BC. Today I'm going to talk about Genesis 19, which is where God hears that Sodom is a sinful place. You know, Sodom and Gomorrah, everybody knows the story. You know, two angels went, Lot met them at the gate, invited them to his house, begged them to come to his house, and they came to his house and, you know, washed their feet and was taking very good care of them. And then the townsmen come there and asking Lot to send the two strangers out so they can have sexual relations with them. Well, Lot offers them his daughters who have not been with a man to do whatever they want, and they did not want nothing but those two men. Well, eventually the cities were destroyed by fire and brimstone, which we know today is basically sulfur, and it came down like rain. Fascinating story. God destroyed it all. Fascinating story. But here's where, here's where story goes from story to reality. Back in 1990, Sodom was found. That's right. They actually found the city. The city had, and here's the thing. You can look at it and you can actually make out the buildings and things. That's right. You can actually make out the buildings, the wall, the outer wall, all that. But when you touch it, it just turns into ash in your hands. What happened is, now from the size of a dime to 15 pounds of balls of sulfur come down. And they're saying that the heat was so intense, it was anywhere between 4,000 to 5,000 degrees. That's right, 4,000 to 5,000 degrees. So it incinerated anything that was in there. But what happened is, it was so intense that the city, you could actually see the flames on the, well, it's ash, because when you touch it, it turns to ash. When it rains, it turns to ash. But you can actually see what the flames look like. And they took the balls that they have found and sent them to a lab to get analyzed. And they said that that's what it is. It was over 95% sulfur. And so they asked if they could ignite it, and they said no, they would not be able to ignite it because the heat would be so intense that it would damage their chamber. So they would not do it. That's how pure that this sulfur was, that it would actually damage this chamber that they would put it in, where they would ignite it. So that right there, once again, proves that the Bible is for real. You know, I don't see how anybody could discredit the Bible. You know, there's a lot of people out there who tries, but you know what? Every time you try, God says, look, right there's proof again. You know, I am real. You know, and that's the thing, that this whole world, not only just this nation, but this whole world will have to come to terms with it. You're either going to come to terms with it now, or you're going to come to terms with it on the Day of Judgment. You know, me, I prefer to do it now. You know, there is too much evidence proving that the Bible is fact, not fiction. And people want to make it fiction, you know, because they want to feel good about the sins they're doing. They want to believe that they are their own gods, that nothing, that all this here came from nothing. Then, now listen to this now, it came from nothing. That don't even sound right. How can you get nothing? How can you get something from nothing? That is impossible. Even science is saying that's impossible. You know? And that goes back to, you know, earlier in Genesis, talking about, you know, God said let there be light, and then, you know, there was light. We had this whole solar system. We had everything. The heavens and the stars, you know. Well, later it tells you about heaven. But, you know, I don't understand how anybody could sit back and discredit the Bible, you know. It just is mind-boggling, you know. just like they found Jericho, and the walls fell just like Jericho, just like the Bible said it did, and it made a ramp where they could actually go over what was left of the wall, which wasn't much, but it made it easier for them to go over and attack the city. Now, I'm going to tell you what, that's ingenious design. I mean, I wouldn't have thought about it. I would have just said, well, I'm just going to crumble it down. No, God says, you know what, I'm going to do better. I'm going to crumble it down and make a ramp for them to go over and make it easier to access the city where they ain't got to go through all the rubble. Now, see, now that's ingenious. That's how our God is. Our God is almighty, and He's all-knowing, you know. So, Sodom and Gomorrah has been found. Well, they said that Sodom had been found. They know Gomorrah's right there. You know, the small town that Lot asked the angels to let him run to instead of running to the mountains is right there, not far from there. And you know, it is closer to what the mountains are. The pillar of salt is not far from there. It's in between the small town and Sodom. I mean, what else do you need? You know, they found the pillar of salt. They know it's there. So they looked and they found it, and it's the only salt in the area. And the thing about and getting back to it, the sulfur that they found, that even more prove that the Bible is authentic, is you cannot find any sulfur like this around. You know, they've looked everywhere because they came down in like balls. Most sulfur you'll see that comes from volcanic or places like that is powdery. You know, it's not balled up, you know, like a ball. So I don't know what people need. I don't know what more evidence does people need. This was not a random act. You know, it wasn't a freak of nature, anything like that, because nowhere else have they found this. You know, they've looked everywhere. You know, from the United States on. So I don't know what evidence people need that God exists. You know, even in your heart, you know, our hearts, our bodies, our souls, we long for something more. So because we know something more is out there, and I'm gonna do a video about this on how we know something more is out there, why we get this feeling, and you know, and basically just to touch on it a little bit is from when Adam and Eve, they sinned in the garden. See, because Adam and Eve, they walked with God, they talked to God. You know, just like some of the people in the Bible, they had this. I mean, God came down and He walked in the garden with them. You know, and we long to have that now. That's something that we miss. You know, even though, you know, we didn't experience the Garden of Eden, but we still descendants from Adam and Eve, and we still long for this. We still long for being with God, to talk with God, and to feel God's love in our heart, and feel the love that He has for us. We still long for that. But not trying to get off subject, but I would like to hey, that's something for you to think about today. You know, because every time you turn around, you hear somebody say, well, you know, this wasn't proven in the Bible, and then you know, you come out later, hey, guess what? They found something. There was a video, a movie somebody done one time that was discrediting the Bible, and a couple hours after the movie went off, guess what? They found evidence to prove that crucifixions was going on then, at the time of Christ. You know, just like the Bible foretold. So I don't know what people need. I don't know what they're looking for. Well, I know what they're looking for, but I know what they need. But as far as finding out whether the Bible is true or not, all the evidence is out there. You can look for it for yourself. Thank you for joining me. You have a wonderful day.